Fear Itself, a show many call the third season of Masters of Horror, was an anthology show running on NBC from June 2008 until July 2008, a whole 2 months. Wow. Until it was put on hiatus for the Summer Olympics and never came back, getting officially canceled in 2009. There were 13 total episodes, 8 of which aired on NBC and 5 of which remained unaired. But now, you can watch all episodes for free on Roku. Or be cool like me and buy the DVD. It has commentaries on every episode. Fear Itself was created by Mick Garris. He wrote the screenplays for movies like Batteries Not Included, Hocus Pocus, The Fly 2, and right before this created both seasons of Masters of Horror on Showtime. The first episode premiered on June 8th, 2008, called The Sacrifice, about 4 petty criminals who have their car broken down outside a mysterious fort resembling The Village from the M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village. We have 2 brothers, the blonde, dopey one named Lemon, the old and harder one, Point, yeah, that's his name, Point, and their friend Diego, dragging their sick friend Navarro in a canoe. Navarro got injured by a tree branch as they were making a mad whitewater dash in their canoe. They're a little vague on what happened before this convenient car accident, but it seems they are gun runners and tried to make a deal that went bad. They still have the guns and use them later in the episode. 2 duffel bags full of automatic weapons, but no cash. Point blames his brother Lemon for this, and Lemon thinks it's Point's fault. They have no money, are armed to the teeth, and are now stranded in a wooden fort. Who owns this fort? What terrible, awful creature could possibly be living out in the middle of nowhere? Oh, it's some hot blonde chicks. Well, it is a Mick Garris show. And during Masters of Horror, he was notoriously known for putting very, very attractive women in pretty much every episode. And I think we should give him a round of applause for doing that. This episode features 3 of them. I love the parts of this episode where they're walking around outside, so you can see they are not isolated to just one house. They have all sorts of houses, catacombs, cemeteries, which they show in the beginning, obviously foreshadowing. They utilize these set pieces later in the episode, running around the area when they're fighting the monsters. It does feel like a full-length movie. It's 43 minutes and was on network television, NBC, and they actually wrap everything together. They explain everything. Why are these sisters living out in the middle of nowhere by themselves? They explain it. Why have they not ventured outside the fort? They explain it. Why don't they have any new technology? Okay, they don't really explain that part, but horror a lot of times does require isolation. And if there's some presence that doesn't want the criminals to leave the wooden fort, giving them high-speed internet access and cell phones would be a bad idea. But at least I think they could give them a PS3 to play with or something. I mean, would a TV hurt? They can't contact the outside world with a TV from 2008. That's why I think this is drawing inspiration from the movie The Village. An isolated fort with no technology in the modern world and a creepy occult atmosphere. Our friend Diego can't keep his eyes off one of the sisters, and she lets him know she's just so lonely and needs a big strong man to take care of her. She's just nice and innocent and here, come to my barn and take off my knickers and feed me crumpets. We get 2 scenes at the same time. The first sister, Chelsea, decides to sew up Navarro's mouth to make sure that he can't make any noise as she, well, they don't get too graphic, but it seems like she kills him and tortures him. Then we get the second sister, Virginia, with our friend Diego, dumps him down a hole. They kind of do these both scenes together so that you know, okay, these sisters are bad, or at least there's something that is making them do this, which we learn later in the episode. These both are pretty effective because they throw both of them at you kind of at the same time. Just in case you thought there was one sister that was bad, no, they're letting you know both sisters are bad. Both Chelsea torturing Navarro and Virginia throwing Diego down a hole. And there is one more sister who's a mute, which we will see later in the episode. And despite the fact that this was on network TV, Mick Garris really does seem like he's pushing the content here. He is not messing around. He's not doing a beyond belief episode. This one is quite bloody, and I can just imagine him sending this to the censors and them having a freaking aneurysm. It seems like he was coming off Masters of Horror and it was like, well, on Showtime, I can do anything. I can show nudity, I can chop people's heads off, I can throw blood everywhere. So I'll just do the same thing here. And they're like, no, Mick Garris, you can't do that. We have to actually cut a lot of this. He's actually mentioned this in interviews where they had to edit his stuff, which makes complete sense because this really is pushing the network censors, but that's why it makes it cool. Because it actually isn't pulling any punches. And not every single episode of Fear Itself is going to be this intense, but certainly the first 2 episodes are this intense. And it does keep a pretty consistent tone all the way through. I've been covering Tales from the Dark Side, and you will get a serious one, then a goofy one, then another goofy one, then a weird one, then one that makes no sense, then one that has no blood, then one that has a lot. It's very inconsistent. This is not like that. Pretty much all these are kind of pure horror, and it does seem to have a fascination with serial killers. But luckily this one isn't a serial killer. it's an actual monster, which we'll see in a second. But good job, Mick Garris, and thank you for giving the censors an aneurysm. So that is the monster they're fighting. Specifically, it's a vampire. And it does seem like this is a callback to the first episode from Masters of Horror, Incident on and Off a Mountain Road, where the main character was a serial killer named Moonface. Both characters look pretty similar, and I don't think this is an accident. Mick Garris wrote this episode, The Sacrifice, and produced all 2 seasons of Masters of Horror. This vampire is what's keeping these girls captive in this fort. These girls don't want to keep bringing people to this fort and feeding them to this vampire, but if they don't, they explain that the vampire will break out of the fort and then spread itself into the general population. Is this a plot hole? Not really. I think it's fine. Obviously, you can come up with other ways to deal with this. I don't know. Just call the police and go, hey, there's a freaking vampire in the fort. Come kill him. Because we learn later on it actually isn't too hard to kill him. But, okay. It's a good enough plot. I think it's fine. It does show the motivations for why these girls purposely do have people's cars break down outside of the fort and then bring them in and feed them to the monster. They don't want to do it. Scenes before this, it does seem like they do it kind of with a smile. Like, maybe they're just numb to it. They've done it so many times. We see parts in this episode where there's a cemetery with a bunch of graves, and also one where Point, still love that name, Point, walks to one of the houses and sees a bunch of license plates from cars that they have broken down and taken those people and fed them to the monster. Overall, I give this episode a 9 out of 10. This is a great way to kick off the series. And I'll do a ranking of all the episodes after I finish all 13 of them. I'm not sure if I'd say this is my favorite, but it's definitely up there. And you can see the production values is much higher than we're going to see in the rest of the season. There's full-on action scenes of them shooting fully automatic weapons at this vampire. There's multiple deaths, multiple scenes, multiple characters. This is not something we will always see in this series. Typically, the premiere episode tends to get a bigger budget than the following ones. So that's also the case here. And Mick Garris's writing is quite good. It even has the cool, shaky camera thing. So it's like you're almost there. It's like, ooh, look, you're like in the room while it's shaking. And I really like the lighting in this episode too. It's not so dark that you can't see what's happening, which a lot of horror movies that try to do this kind of aesthetic where everything's sort of gray, but you end up losing the characters in the background. You can actually see everything that's going on here, and yet they still do a great job with the shadows and hiding the monster just enough so that he looks realistic. The girls are hot too. Did I mention that before? The Sacrifice was directed by Brick Eisner. He directed Sahara, The Crazies, and recently the Amazon exclusive series, The Expanse. Rachel Miner played Chelsea. She was in 12 episodes of Californication as Danny and Sons of Anarchy as Dawn. Jeffrey Pierce played Point. In 2023, he was in The Last of Us series as Perry, and he does voiceover work for a lot of Call of Duty games like Infinite Warfare, and also the Bourne Conspiracy video game as Jason Bourne. Well, he did the voice of Jason Bourne, still counts. Next episode is called Spooked, about a haunted house and a corrupt cop facing his demons.